And that's not going to stop. And it's probably not, it probably just didn't start either. It's probably been happening for years behind the scenes, but we're starting to hear about it now vocally from these regulators. So we kind of have to play this line where we can't move faster than we know with clarity that we can move. The other side of that is it is a utility token, and the only place it has utility is CoinMetro. So yes, it does hinder a bit our ability maybe to push the brand out further. So it's slowed our ability maybe to get more people aware of what CoinMetro is. But that's. I mean, we might not be the hare, but we hope to be the tortoise in the end.
Yeah, I just was just wondering if that was maybe hindered growth in some way, or at least more people discovering it. The discoverability of the project, right?
Yeah, and it does. It absolutely does. And I guess we kind of look at the long road that way, saying when there's clarity, if clarity happens that says, look, you can proactively go out and list at another venue like a dual listing in traditional markets, and it's not going to change that your token's utility, it's not going to make it a payment token, it's not going to make it a security, etc.
You're based in Estonia, though, right? So does that? So it's not. It's at least that's what this information here says, is that officially you're in Estonia. So it's like that's not necessarily U.S. The U.S. regulations might not apply as much, right? So it's like it seems like you were able to base it off of Estonia law, and then maybe you have more flexibility. Are you just being overly cautious, maybe?
I would say we're being cautious, but not necessarily overly. So the U.S. is kind of the one place in the world that'll go after you regardless of where you're based, right? So it's really the only country in the world on a regulatory level that will try you in absentia, right? You don't even show up, and they will try you, find you guilty, fine you, and then once you're fined,
bomb your family.
Yeah, and they may just bomb you. Probably not in Estonia. Maybe if you're close to the Russian border, I don't know. But we're far enough away. I think we're okay there. Yeah, but you're right. So the point is that the problem when you're a regulated entity. So we hold multiple licenses and multiple regulations all around, or multiple registrations, all around the world. The minute you get a fine or even just a warning from any regulator, the difficulty to get regulated elsewhere multiplies by tenfold. So you need to be cautious. You need to play by the rules. You need to ask permission rather than going out and asking for forgiveness, which is what most companies do in this industry right now. They do it, and then they go, "Oh, sorry, we didn't know." But that's unfortunately not a great excuse. So yeah, in time it will be listed elsewhere, whether we want it or not, because as the business grows, as the market cap grows, other players will list it without even our acceptance of them listing it. And so at some point that will happen. We just haven't been proactive about it.
That's interesting.
I didn't know where did this pallet of cash come from that showed up on my lawn. I didn't know. I just thought they were giving away the money or something. So let me address an issue that I keep getting questions just from in my life, right? There's this fear that the governments are going to come in and make cryptocurrency illegal. I personally feel that we are past
okay, here you go.
Major institutions that now have a stake in it. But what's your personal take on this?
I think probably looking back, we were past it as soon as the Bitcoin network was launched. Simply because think of it as the internet. A lot of people make these comparisons to the internet. We're in 95, 96 of the internet. Back then it was 92, or whatever. But the point is that
I think we're leaving for
as soon
dinner
as the first few nodes went online, and it became
7:15.
decentralized. As well as the head of what is the SEC, which is the CNBV here, and the Bank of Mexico, all come out after some billionaire named Ricardo Salinas went on air and said that 10% of his portfolio was in Bitcoin, and his bank was going to be the first one to offer Bitcoin to retail clients in Mexico. They immediately came out and said no, and the head of the let's say the IRS here, the tax authority, said something along the lines of that crypto is only used for drug money, human trafficking, and whatever the nonsense. That narrative is about 10 years old, and I guess he's a little bit behind the times because we've already debunked that about 837,000 times. But that narrative still exists in certain countries, and it's going to exist for some time more. But smart governments are realizing, probably for not the best reasons, that crypto is actually very beneficial for them. Why? Because most crypto, let's not talk about privacy coins per se, but most crypto is pseudo-anonymous. It acts like cash, but it's not cash. So they can track it, they can trace it. And as soon as they realized that, and law enforcement was quick to realize that, but governments took some time. As soon as they realized that, now everybody loves CBDCs. Everybody's now starting to turn a cheek and starting to try to apply regulation so they can regulate a bit the flow of crypto, but not necessarily kill it. And I expect that not to get more stringent, but to get less stringent over time, because they want the data, they want the access. The more they try to restrict it, the data goes underground, the less they can track it. So I actually think we're way past that. You will see, though, smaller countries, even some bigger countries, authoritarian in nature. We all know, I'm not even going to say the name so we don't create an eighth bud around somebody banning crypto for the 19th time. But, there are going to be certain countries, big countries, that are still going to, shout from the rooftops nonsense. But generally speaking, I think we're going to start to see...
Oh, sorry.
No problem. We're going to see quite a wave over the next few years of adoption at the government and at the regulatory and legislative level. I think that the chances of some type of global restriction on crypto is zero.
Well, El Salvador, anybody? Hello? Anyone? Bueller?
Yeah. I mean, I saw somebody on Twitter that was like 2010, I don't know. Bitcoin, only drug dealers use it. Then it's like 2015, only, whatever, nerds use it. And then 2000, only small countries use it, whatever. And
you are here, right?
Yeah. Which is funny. It's true to a sense, though, that obviously El Salvador adoption on the grand scheme of things is kind of not all that meaningful. But it does set a precedent, and the precedent is meaningful.
It's going to be meaningful to the people of El Salvador.
Yeah, well,
those who start taking some of their payment in Bitcoin, those people, might end up becoming very wealthy and have more money.
I think what El Salvador needs to do is take all the Bitcoin they mine and distribute it as a basic income to their citizens, and lock away a certain amount until those citizens turn a certain age. And within probably the next 20 years, they'll have one of the wealthiest GBPs per capita in the world. And that will show the rest of the world how to actually run a universal income program. That's what they should do. Now, they may get greedy. El Salvador hasn't been known to be the most proactive country in the world. So they could get greedy and just completely muck it up, screw it up. But if they do that, I think that would be amazing. So hopefully somebody's listening in El Salvador. I can take a plane right down there if they want me to say it to their face. I have no problem with it.
Imagine if they actually did that, and then like the kids down the road would be completely well off if Bitcoin, let's say, if it's still around, which we assume it's going to be. Yeah. I want to talk about this because I find this interesting. So I'm looking at your exchange trade volume over the last year. What happened in August? You had there was some stuff in August where you guys were doing like a quarter billion dollars a day over there. Like at least
I think you maybe have a 10 multiplier on that. I think we had about 20-30 million a day during August, actually.
Well, okay, so I guess what it is maybe it's normalized. I think that might be the normalized.
It's
just some completely weird anomaly. I was like, oh my God, what was going on there? Because it's like, is that
baskets of different assets, for example, like